This is Fox 5 News at 10.
21 children, 16 cities. The FBI cracking a case wide open tonight. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Bolter.
And I'm Laura Evans, in tonight for Sean. The feds busted a nationwide child prostitution ring. Some of the victims right here. And what they were put through, enough to make any parent's skin crawl. Fox 5's Robbie Chavez here now with how it all went down and what you need to know to keep your kids safe. Robbie?
Laura, this is also very sad. The FBI today said 300,000 kids are victims of sexual exploitation by pimps and sex traffickers. Now, if those numbers don't grab you, then think of this. Kids are being snatched right off the street, right here in D.C., locked up for days to keep them, and then in this dirty trade. Much of it is based right here.
There have been cases of trafficking that have happened within a 1-mile radius of the White House.
Outreach advocates say the nation's capital is one of the top areas where kids are taken right off the streets by pimps.
They will kidnap kids, throw them into trunks.
And it's happening more than you think. Within the last 3 years, 70 victims have been identified by the Polaris Project and police agencies here in D.C. Runaway kids are quickly snatched up and preyed upon.
You can find kids on the street on an average night in D.C., usually after midnight. What traffickers do is exploit that, and not only will they use physical violence and sexual violence, but they'll also say that they're the only person that actually cares for that child.
Today, the FBI announced a big roundup of 300 pimps in 16 different cities, including Montgomery County and the district. 21 kids were saved as a result. The tactic of one pimp was described in graphic detail.
Some victims, including the 2 who were prostituted as minors, testified that they were at the time addicted to drugs, and that Webster exploited their addiction and furnished them with crack cocaine as an inducement to keep them working.
I think it's one of the sickest things that someone can do.
Advocates say just this week, 23-year-old Javon Johnson was convicted for pimping a 14-year-old girl from Northeast and keeping her hostage for 10 days, forcing her into prostitution. It's why the staff from the Polaris Project walked the streets to find these kids before the pimps.
When an American youth runs away from home, within the first couple of days, a high number of them are recruited into prostitution by a pimp.
A couple other points here. Now, runaways are particularly vulnerable. The FBI says that 55% of street girls engage in prostitution. 75% of them work for a pimp. And the entry level for girls, 12 years old, boys, 11-year-old. Laura?
Very, very troubling, Robbie. Thank you. Although some of the areas targeted were rundown neighborhoods and interstate truck stops, the FBI says many predators have actually moved their trade off the streets and online. Police say this man knows all about the online sex world. Paul Mosser of Silver Spring is charged with using a computer to solicit sex with a minor. Authorities claim for more than a year, Mosser had sexually explicit online chats with a child. Only the child was an undercover Arlington, Virginia detective. Police arrested him last week after he agreed to meet the child.